What is up? It's Dakota Layden here from Destination Fear, and you are listening to the Paranormally Zone.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Okay, so I feel like I'm at an emotional crossroads, an emotional podcast crossroads, Mike.
I'm concerned. I'm intrigued and concerned.
Well, that makes
Tell me
me feel
about
good.
this debacle.
That makes me feel cared for, and
You are. Would you like a warm blanket?
well, can you send it to me somehow from Enderlin to here right now? It's like
Well, I'll just run it over real quick.
my little warm comfort blankie. No, yeah, I feel like I'm at a podcast emotional crossroads for this particular episode and our forays into the horrific world of true crime. Yeah, if you haven't figured it out already, we're finally diving back. The Paranormally Zone is diving back into that awful world of true crime. And my emotional crossroads, so to speak, Mike, is that I'm always excited when we finally come back and do some true crime, just nasty shit.
As am I.
But then I feel bad and guilty because this shit happened. And we're sitting here talking
real.
about it on a podcast. And so my emotions are twisted. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. I'm like, ooh, I'm rubbing my hands together. But then it's like, oh my God, this is real. This is real shit. And I've already swore like 3 or 4 times. I apologize.
I know.
But that's
This
what
stuff
happens.
has actually happened.
Yeah.
This isn't some story that came out of a sick, demented mind that just writes about it. This is true fact, life and death that happened from a true sick and twisted mind.
And today is no exception. We're going to be talking about several examples of just unbelievably heinous, disgusting cases of true crime. And in this, our focus, I should say, tonight is on absolutely brutal and horrific examples of murder that have gone down in the annals of
Is it annals or is it anal?
I hope it's not anals. I really hope it isn't anals. Oh, by the way, Mike, if we want to get the humor out, let's get it out before we dive into stuff.
Yeah, hey, we're going to need it after too.
Oh, that's very, very true. My gosh.
Which reminds me that there really needs to be a bit of a disclaimer on here, a bit of a warning,
that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up because in all sincerity, some of these cases that we're going to be talking about tonight, we're not focusing on any particular whacked out, crazed nut job serial killer like we have on our past true crime episodes. We're not talking about unsolved cases of true crime. We're talking about, as I mentioned earlier, just some of the most heinous, brutal acts of murder you'll ever hear about. And in all sincerity, if you don't want to listen to this, we don't blame you. Just kind of fast forward till the very end and press play, so then it'll count as a download.
You got to throw that press play in there. That's good.
Very, very good. Gosh, you can't let me get away from that, can you? But
yeah, you won't.
Yeah. Well, and new listeners to the show are going like, what? But that's all good.
Stay tuned in. We'll talk about it again soon, I'm sure.
But some of the stuff we're talking about, and I mean, we're talking about crimes that involve children as young as 13 months old. That's just one case in particular. I mean, it was disturbing when you and I were kind of going over this last night, and we were honestly debating whether or not this might be too much. And,
the 7 cases that I did, kind of gloss over, I glance over. I started reading them, and I was able to, and then it got to be where it was too much, and I had to kind of just skim a little bit, and I thought, I'll wait for the rest of these until we record. I mean, it is horrendous. There's
absolutely.
stuff that I really don't think that we should even. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't know. I don't understand how anybody that was born into the human race can do things like this.
Well, it makes you wonder. It's like, how can you be the same species as I? I mean, you have to be the devil or something. I mean, there's no explanation obviously you have mental illness. You have so many other.
I don't have mental illness.
No, not you. I'm not saying.
You said we have mental illness, and
did
speak
I?
for yourself.
Oh, well, well, let me rephrase that.
Anyway,
that.
I'm just.
I was thinking I was talking about. I think I was going for, alleged explanations for
listing off what we have in this world as a collective.
I'm just saying they're all sick and twisted bastards, and they all
extremely.
should rot in hell. If there is a hell, I hope they're there.
Right. So is this? Can we consider this a sick and twisted episode as well?
Well, you know what? The Sick and Twisted was a Patreon exclusive, so I think we should just keep this as true crime, because maybe we'll bring back the Sick and Twisted in the future for another go around with those that sub series, I should say. And okay, before I forget, we really want some feedback here from listeners. I know we ask you to let us know what you guys think every episode, and we want to hear from you. This time we really need to hear from you, because changes to the podcast may be coming, but I'm not sure. We're not sure.
Nothing drastic, nothing that isn't going to be too difficult to follow along with.
And I'm not going to pull the same mistake like I did before, where when we were the Alternate Route podcast for about 7 years, and then I decided one day, nope, we're done. We're going to have a new name. We're starting over, and then I didn't even announce it. To all of our Alternate Route podcast. No, we did like one episode. I don't even know how it went, but I screwed it up so bad. So I apologize if. Well, how would they be hearing? How would they be listening right now? But if I can just imagine Alternate Route podcast listeners out there still going like, where the hell did they go? I used to listen to these guys, and then they were just gone.
Yeah, and then some of them are probably thinking that guy that was usually sick all the time, he probably died.
Oh, my Lord! No, well, I don't think that you were sick at that point. I think you were just like depressed. I think that was during that time when you were at your lowest low for a while there. But no, we wanted to get that out there right now. We are considering making the Paranormally Zone a YouTube exclusive podcast. We're going to really, if we did that, we're going to obviously focus on all video content. We'd still be recording episodes like tonight's, and they would be exclusive to the YouTube channel. When I say be exclusive, well, I'm sure you can figure it out. It wouldn't be available anywhere else. It wouldn't be on Spotify. It wouldn't be on Pandora. It wouldn't be on iHeartRadio. It wouldn't be on iTunes or anything like that. It'd just be YouTube. We have several reasons for doing that, but we really, really want to grow our YouTube channel. And
Patrick wants to be a YouTube star.
Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that, Mike. That's exactly what it's all about. Yes, we want to be YouTube starlets. Well,
you should see the pair of sunglasses he bought for that occasion.
Okay, whatever. Covered in glitter. Don't forget the glitter. Yeah. Yep, and I got like the.
Just don't go by the name Gary if you're going to put glitter on it.
Oh, good God, no! Why'd you have to go there? We're already sick and twisted.
We don't need to talk. We don't need sick and twisted people.
We don't need to Don't need to bring up disgraced British pop music icons and. Is he even considered an icon? I don't even know.
Well, that one hit wonder that was an awesome song. You still kick on that one.
Yeah, that's okay. I get you, but he's
that's a real toe tapper there.
He's a pig. That's all.
Yeah.
But hey, hey, a long time or a long intro here, but you are in the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose for all things. Hey, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. And on occasion, we have our little forays into the horrific world of true crime. And tonight is no exception. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the man whose middle name should be turned to Sloth, Mike Carbno. I have no idea why I said that. Mike, I'm teasing you because
I know you are.
It was about 3 hours ago when you said, we're on our way home.
yeah, that's right.
And so now it's about 3.5 hours since I got that text. And so I can just imagine.
Well, you know what, Patrick? If it would have been you texting, you still wouldn't have been home.
That's
if
very
it would
true.
Have been, if it would have been turned around the other way. So
okay, that's well.
Well, the thing is we had to get some groceries.
No. Don't walk away from that little jab at my driving speed right there. You just can't get past that one now, can you? See, I like to drive safely, respectfully. I'm not a crazy madman like you are behind the wheel.
Patrick is, he makes sure he's so safe it pisses off the other drivers.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good, right? We kid. And no, your name is not, your middle name is not Sloth. So I retract that statement. It's Slowpoke. How about that?
Yes. Well, the groceries were hard to carry in, and we had a lot. And
I know. And I felt bad when you said that. You're like, we're carrying in the groceries. And as our longtime listeners know, you are literally one-armed right now. So,
I did not have my tactical cane, so I couldn't hang like multiple bags on the handle. I was using my shillelagh, which, you can't hang anything on that. So,
man, a multiple usage there from your, the multifaceted shillelagh, I should say. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Well, the shillelagh, the only other thing you can use that for besides walking is beating on somebody. So
okay. Well, that might fit into this episode then somehow.
Yeah.
Now, before I forget,
shillelagh killer.
Before I forget here, Mike, as longtime listeners know, we focus heavily on all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. Basically, 99% all things paranormal. And it seems like it's been a while since you, the co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy, has had some odd happenings going on in your whereabouts. But as of earlier this week, something very intriguing happened.
Oh, it's very intriguing.
Now, you texted me this, and I want you to share it with our listeners and me again, because this is pretty darn cool. Oh, Mike's gagging. Okay, he's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine now. Yeah, it was very interesting. It all actually started sometime during the winter when Mishka, our Great Pyrenees, we lost her dog tags. There was like 3 or 4 tags on a little cheap ring that was hanging on her collar. Well, I put a tie out on her to let her out, so she wouldn't jump over the fence and run away like she has before. A long story, but anyway,
broken your ribs.
So I think, when I noticed that they were missing, I thought, well, they must have got caught on her leash or whatever, and in the snow somewhere. So I just wrote it off. I did look for them in the house to see if they might be here, but couldn't find them. Moved furniture, I sweep every day because of the dog fur. Not around. So anyway, earlier that week, Mishka was laying on the floor in front of us by the couch, and all of a sudden we heard this tinny, clinky sound, like something being thrown on the floor. So I thought, what the heck is that? I got up, and Mishka, she lifted her head like, it surprised her. And that's where it sounded like it came from, in that area. So I got up and I looked, and here's one of the dog tags off of that ring. And it's like, where did this come from? And I thought, well, it wasn't stuck in her fur, wasn't stuck in her collar. I know, because I've had her collar off between between these times. But there it was. Like, to me, it seemed paranormal, like it popping out of the sky or somebody dropping it down. Here's one of the dog tags.
And like you said, you keep up on sweeping due to the dog.
Every 3 times a day. I mean, a Pyrenees and a Shepherd. It's
that includes under the furniture.
Oh yeah, you have to. Yeah. And I've even moved the furniture out from the wall. Besides, instead of just going under the front and sides, move it out, get everything out from underneath it. Nothing. So anyway, a couple of days later, Mishka's laying on the floor again on the other side of the couch, by the couch on the floor, and heard this again, this clink. Just something like being thrown on the floor, and Mary and I look at each other like, okay, what is this? It's like the other night. I get up and go and look, and by her, Mishka, on the floor, is the rest of the dog tags on this cheap ring. Well, this ring, it was bent in such a weird way, like, it wasn't pulled apart where it would have opened, but the ring was pushed further together, so it made a tighter hole for where the tags would be hanging. So this one, how it came off, I have no idea. And the other 3, there was no way they were coming off by the way this ring was bent. So, I tried to figure it out. I tried to think how this could have happened, where they could have come from, but they were thrown on the floor. I mean, it was obvious the way it sounded. That
is so crazy. And you immediately after, I reacted initially to this tale, this, I'm not going to call it a tale, to this occurrence. You said that sounds just like something that my dad would have done. Yeah, and by that, you mean what?
In kind of a joking way, because, me being a jokester, my dad, he was a huge jokester. And it's like, I could imagine him as a spirit, can't see him, but he's like, here, have your dog tags back, and doing it the way he did. Here, have this one today. I'll give you the other ones in a few days, and make sure that throws them on the floor to where we hear it when we're all here together.
I love that.
And I can see him smiling as he's doing it.
Because I had, when I reacted to that, I wrote back, said like, man, I think one of the things I suggested was perhaps something like swipe these from you guys forever ago, back in, earlier this winter. And due to your kind of lack of even really noticing it or something, they were kind of flustered and frustrated. And so they're like, well, fine, have them back, clank.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was kind of similar to what you were eventually suggesting. It may have been like your dad's kind of like playing those pranks on you. And he's like, well, right, I'll let you know finally. And he's just giggling somewhere in the other dimension right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I texted you back and I said, this is kind of like what I'm going to do to you someday.
That's right. That is right. And I said, please keep it civilized.
Yeah. Well,
don't do anything too out of the ordinary, if you know what I mean. I mean, you've always said you're going to punch me or slap me or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I'd have to be more subtle than that.
Yeah.
Start whispering something in the ear like, press play.
And I'd know immediately who it was. I'd know immediately.
It'll be fun.
That's crazy though. So, but you have a good vibe. You have a good feeling that was something indeed paranormal that happened.
Oh, absolutely. The way, the way I was thinking about it and trying to figure it out, and there's just no way. I can't figure it out.
I love that. I love, experiences like that. There's, I mean, even those pseudo skeptics out there, they have to be mildly intrigued by something. Just knowing something like that, just knowing that you're doing your due diligence as far as sweeping, and you've been looking for these tags for months, and you've never seen them. They haven't been just sitting right on a counter right next to your couch that you just never seen for months. They
absolutely
have not
they
been
would
there.
Have been found. Yeah, they would have been found. That if that was the case.
Well, Mike, are you ready? Are you ready to dive into this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, those emotional crossroads I'm experiencing right now, I'll get through them because you know what? Hey, we're the lucky ones because we haven't gone through horrific shit like this, like these poor victims had to endure. Again, if you guys want to check out right now, we don't blame you. Some of the stuff gets pretty harsh. Mike, let's take a brief time traveling excursion. Yes, we're back to doing that because it's fun.
Yep.
So I will see you in like a minute or two. To our listeners, it shall be seamless. Hold on, boys and girls. We shall be right back. All right, we are back. So, Mike, how was your time traveling excursion? Did you see anything cool? I don't know because I passed out.
Really?
It's the speed. It's the speed of these time traveling excursions. I can't take it sometimes. I
think you hit the wrong portal. I actually saw Dimitrodon. A Dimitrodon.
Okay, that's like 2 or 3 episodes in a row now you've mentioned that, or at least 2 out of the last 3 or something
Well,
like that.
that's why I brought it up this time. I kind of keeping that theme going.
I understand. I understand.
You know, actually, believe it or not, I have a little figure of one about that big.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'm proud of you, Mike and his little Dimitrodon.
Actually, I have some of my little dinosaurs still that I had when I was a little kid. And even some of my little green army men still that I used to play with. Anyway.
You have a plethora of cool stuff down in that basement of yours that you need to go through and find out that shit. All right, Mike, are you ready for this?
I am. It took a lot of prep, but yes, I'm ready.
We got to clean our
mental prep.
Clean our palate a little bit here because like I said, some of these things are just, I mean, they're all awful, but some of them just, they make you sick to your stomach. You know, and the thing is that's truly sad about it. This is what, a microscopic percentage of the stuff that goes on in this world, you know, and it's mind-boggling. It's mind-numbing. I went through so much stuff. There's so many cases that definitely rank up there as truly horrific and awful, and some of them don't even, when compared to what we're about ready to share, I mean, you can't rank these, you can't rate them, because as we said, they're all just devilish and heinous.
Oh yeah, they don't fit into a category of rating. There's
they don't.
It can't be done.
Some of the cases though, Mike, that I was flying through that, you know, we're not going to dive into, they're just as terrible. Some, you know, true crime aficionados out there, you know, they might be familiar with the stuff that we're going to talk about, which wouldn't be surprising, that's for sure. Some of these were new to me, not all of them, but some examples that we're not going to dive into, like the case of Diane Downs, Mike, from 1983, where she attempted to murder her 3 little kids. It was back in 1983. She succeeded in one murder. The other one ended up suffering like a stroke. The other one was paralyzed from like the waist down after her attack. And the reason that she tried to kill her 3 little kids is because of her obsession with a married man that she was with or / wanted to be with, who did not want kids. He did not want to have any kids. So, okay, I'll just kill mine.
Sacrifice her kids for a... Yeah, and what did he think of that?
It's truly mind-boggling. What do you think about this, Mike? The case of Mary Bell. This one it's astonishing, and you'll understand why it's astonishing. Aside from its grotesque nature, Mary Bell, when she was 10 years old, she committed her first murder. She strangled and killed a 4-year-old boy. Then she also, after that, strangled and killed a 3-year-old boy, this time with the help of an accomplice. And this time they carved their initials into the boy's body, removed the boy's genitalia, mutilated him. She's 10 years old. She's 10. Well, the astonishing part is she was sent away for 12 years. And at the age of 23, she was granted anonymity, and she lives in England right now and has her own daughter under a different name. how do you? I know she's 10. How the hell can she be granted anonymity? Okay, but I'm probably pissing people off already. There's something there to strangling someone to death and then mutilating them to such a degree. In 12 years, she's okay after doing that?
I can't imagine that being possible. And where did she, in her mind, how did she come up with this, to do this at that age? What is there something that she's seen or what she's lived through that,
That's exactly
is
it.
such a tragic thing, and it's how she turned out. And then she had an accomplice at a young age as well.
Exactly.
I mean, to be able to find somebody that would commit such a crime at such a young age, to do, I don't know.
See, I mean, we're already just like,
yeah,
befuddled. It's so maddening. So maddening. Again, so many, unfortunately, so many gruesome examples out there. The Black Dahlia murders, obviously Charlie Manson, the Sharon Tate slaughters, the LaBianca murders, I should say. I mean, the list sadly goes on and on and on and on. It really makes you scratch your head as to how the hell the human mind is capable of sinking to such depths. Well, you want to dive into this stuff, Mike? The stuff that we were speaking of last night?
Yeah, are we talking about the 7?
Yeah, I have a couple other stuff that I wrote down. We'll see if we get to those as well.
I will follow your lead.
But we'll focus on these grotesque. I just get the willies. It's awful. Purely awful. So when I sent you this last night, and it took a few minutes before you replied, and then you're like, nope. You're like, nope. There's like, would that be too far? Would we be pushing the limit? I think you said, I don't know how you worded that, but. Now, were you familiar before I sent you this list? Because out of this list that we're going by as reference, I was only familiar with one case, fairly familiar with, and I was referring to the Toolbox Killers.
Right.
And you wrote back that you thought that you had seen a movie back in the day that may have been loosely based on this gross case.
I wonder if it was. The movie was called The Toolbox Murders or something like that. And I remember seeing it in a drive-in theater in Fargo, North Dakota, back in the 70s, later 70s probably. But I wish I could remember, how the movie went totally, because I can't, place it when I read, the actual account. But it could have been loosely based, like you said.
Now, an easy way to figure that out was just see the dates of when these murders were, committed.
Right, and I did think of that, but I didn't do it.
Well,
it's like other movies like Last House on the Left and Don't Look in the Basement. I mean, those I think were, especially Last House on the Left, I think they were actually based on true murder, crime.
No, you're right with
revenge
that.
Type, yeah. And those, in the 70s, those were those nasty slasher, movies that just, when I was a little kid and I heard about those, I was like, I could never see that because I'd be throwing up through the whole movie, but.
The reason that I was familiar with this is because I'm sure it may have been doing some quote unquote research into a potential true crime episode a while back, because it wasn't that long ago and it came across this just terrible case of the Toolbox Killers, and we're talking about Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris, who went on a murder spree. They killed 5 California teen girls, and I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, some of their torture devices implied in these murders came from toolboxes, and you can kind of imagine where they went with that. But the absolutely horrific, and just, I'm going to say horrific about 970,000 times this episode, and I apologize.
And that's putting it lightly.
Purely awful aspect of this is that these freaking white trash hillbilly murderous scumbags recorded on audio their final murder, their final torture of this poor girl. Shirley Ledford was the one who unfortunately had to go through this. Their final, 4 other poor souls had to go through this as well. But they thought it'd be fun to sit there and record their torture and eventual murder of this girl. And you can find the transcripts online of what was said, what she screamed, what she was pleading, what they were saying, what they were forcing her to do. It's just grotesque.
Yeah, they do have on this site that we're reading from.
Yeah, there is a little excerpt right here.
It's very.
Well, Mike froze up. He's he's disturbed. Hey, it's been a while since since we've had a Frozen moment, not the cartoon Frozen, an on-air Frozen moment. There he is. And Mike always looks so dejected when he comes back from being frozen, but yeah, we know our internet connection is unstable. We get it. We got it. And Mike went cross-eyed because of the latest excursion into bad connection. I'm sorry. It's like a game show. It's like Mike freezes, and every time he comes back, he's got a different facial expression.
But anyway.
No, as Mike was saying, there is an excerpt here. Well, there's a reason this is grotesque and a reason that it's tough to listen to. But I will read this excerpt if you're okay with that.
Okay.
This is an excerpt from that audio recording. An excerpt from the transcript, I should say.
Right.
It goes as this. It says, at this point, after Bittaker had forced Shirley to fillet him, repeated sounds of an administered beating interspersed with loud screams can be heard as Bittaker savagely beats Shirley about the breasts and to a lesser degree her head. Bittaker then extracted his pliers from the toolbox. Shirley then emits several high-pitched, prolonged screams and cries of agony as Bittaker alternately squeezes and twists her labia, clitoris, nipples, and breasts with the pliers. Bittaker then returns the pliers to the toolbox. Banging sounds can also be heard throughout, which are believed to have been made as Shirley came into contact with the walls and inner contacts of the van as she writhed and flailed. Now these are quotes. It's at Ledford. My God, please stop it, she screams. Bittaker, is the recorder going? Norris, yeah. Bittaker, scream, baby, scream some, baby. And those are mild examples of what is found on these transcripts. It's these bastards. They have both passed away. They're both sentenced to life, and they both passed away within the last 5 years, I believe, in their late 70s. That's far too easy of a punishment for them to live that long of a flippin' life.
It's not a punishment at all.
They're getting health care. They get to watch TV, probably. They get, 3 meals a day.
Tater tots and applesauce and everything.
Good God, what freaking... Oh.
But hopefully they are have been going through some type of punishment at this point.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell freaking yeah. Hopefully they've been come back. Maybe they'll be reincarnated as cockroaches and be squashed every day for the rest. I don't know. I have
maybe they will come back as the woman that they killed, and
then they have to go through it.
Point.
Then they have to go through it.
Ugh. Anyway.
Good Christ. Oh God. Yeah, some of these are so well. All of them are terrible, but they just get so bad. Oh man. The murder of Kellyanne Bates. Kellyanne Bates was horrifically tortured for days before her tormentor finally killed her. Below in this list are a few examples of what she went through. By the way, we're using a list from thoughtcatalog.com here. I went and I saved all these sites or all these examples so I can go through, maybe a little longer versions of these reads, a little more details, but then I figured I'd just stick to this because I don't know how much I could take. Kellyanne Bates.
I can help you read through some of these if you wish.
Oh, sure.
If it gets to be too much for you.
I think I'll be fine. Kellyanne Bates, born May 18th, 1978, brutally murdered April 16th, 1996. Kellyanne was a British teenager who was murdered at the age of 17 in Manchester after being tortured for 4 long weeks. Kelly's eyes were gouged from their sockets up to 3 weeks before she actually died. She died from being drowned in a bathtub. Now, these crimes were committed by her partner, James Patterson Smith. What a guy. Now, below, they share some of the specific injuries that Kelly had to endure during these weeks of torture. Scalding to the buttocks and left leg. Burns on her thigh caused by the application of a hot iron. A fractured arm. Multiple stab wounds caused by knives, forks, and scissors. Stab wounds inside her mouth. Crush injuries to both hands. Mutilation of her ears, nose, eyebrows, mouth, lips, and genitalia. Wounds caused by a spade and pruning shears. As we mentioned before, both eyes were gouged out. Later stab wounds to the empty eye sockets. Finally, she was partially scalped. Good God Almighty. All thanks to Mr. James Patterson Smith. Mike?
Her partner. Man.
How are you feeling so far?
I don't understand.
That's no, we scratch our heads.
Yeah.
We shake our heads.
These are true monster stories. This is, this goes beyond creatures that we've talked about many times.
That's a good way of putting it too.
Pure,
creatures.
Yeah. Hideous. Ugh.
Yeah, you can go. Let's alternate for the remaining few here, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're comfortable with that, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. This is the story of Junko Furuta. Okay. Furuta was a 17-year-old Japanese girl whose case became known as the concrete encased high school girl murder case. Well, Furuta was kidnapped by 4 teenage boys, and aside from the brutality of the assault against her, the most disturbing thing is that she was held at one of the kidnapper's houses, and his parents were present the entire time, and they knew what was going on and did nothing to stop it. Also extremely disturbing is that Furuta turned 17 while she was in captivity and enduring these horrors. There's something tremendously upsetting about that.
Oh, yeah. My God.
Well, yeah, that's what it says, and goes without saying.
Exactly.
To avoid concern over her abduction, the perpetrators forced Furuta to call her parents and tell them that she would be staying at a friend's house for a while. Over the course of her confinement, Furuta was repeatedly raped, beaten, and tortured by her 4 captors until they killed her. The parents of Kamisaku were present in the home for at least part of the time that Fruita was held captive. And though she pleaded with them for help, they did not intervene, later claiming that they feared their son too much to do so. The killers hid her corpse in a 208-liter oil drum filled with concrete. They disposed of the drum in a tract of reclaimed land in Koto, Tokyo.
Okay, I have to say one thing. I have to ask one thing. Damn those parents. Damn them. At least. What in God's name? That is your child. And you're afraid to intervene?
Man.
You're pathetic. They are just as culpable, just as guilty. They are just as much to be blamed as the murderers and her torturers. I mean, I'm not overstepping my bounds in saying that by any means. That is absolutely grotesque.
Yeah, no explanation can be given.
I can't even
Nothing.
begin to wrap my head around that. Your daughter is going through that. In the floor below you, the level below you. She's pleading for your help. And you do nothing.
Come to the point where nothing would matter but getting out, leaving there, and getting help.
Even if you risked your damn life, of course you're going down there.
Yeah.
My God. I don't know what the hell happened to her parents, but I don't mean to sound too harsh, but I really hope that they are suffering somehow. Grotesque. That's another one of my favorite words tonight. Absolutely grotesque. Makes you feel kind of nauseous when you think about it. Oh, man.
There are kind of funny things I want to put into here, little quips, but I just can't.
You can't.
I can't.
Oh, my God.
And that's saying a lot about me, for me.
Just because I wrote down the names, I don't think they were shared in this article, but I did look up and find the names of the perpetrators for this. Just brutal, and I'm running out of adjectives. I don't know how else to describe them. I'm talking about the murder of 2-year-old James Bulger. Now, the thing is, as brutal, as horrific, as atrocious as this poor kid's murder was, kind of similar to Mary Bell, well, guess what? His two murderers, John Venables and Robert Thompson, were both 10-year-old boys. 10-year-old boys. In 1993 in England, 2-year-old James Bulger was abducted by two 10-year-olds at the mall while James' mother was distracted. I can imagine the guilt that James's mother has felt for the rest of her life.
Will never be the same.
Now, after taking James from the mall, the two boys took Bulger on a 2.5-mile walk. At one point, they picked Bulger up and dropped him on his head, which caused him to have a bump on his head, and according to bystanders, caused James to begin crying. The two then took him up an embankment and onto a set of railroad tracks where they began torturing the poor kid. Now, these are some of the details that this starts getting pretty bleak and tough to listen to. Some of the details. At the trial, it was established that at this location, one of the boys threw blue Humbrol modeling paints, which they had shoplifted earlier. Of course they did. They threw it right into Bulger's left eye. They then kicked and stomped on Bulger and threw bricks and stones at him. Batteries were placed in Bulger's mouth. Police believe that some batteries may have been inserted into his anus, although none were actually found. Finally, a 22-pound iron bar, described in court as a railway fish plate, was dropped on top of Bulger. Bulger suffered 10 skull fractures as a result of the iron bars striking his head. The case's pathologist, Dr. Alan Williams, stated that Bulger suffered so many injuries, 42 in total, that none could be isolated as the fatal blow. Police suspected that there was a sexual element to the crime since Bulger's shoes, socks, trousers, and underpants have been removed. The pathologist's report, read out in court, stated that Bulger's foreskin had been forcibly retracted. Before they left him, the boys laid a 2-year-old James Bulger across the railway tracks and weighted his head down with rubble in the hope that a train would hit him and make his death appear to be an accident. After Bulger's killers left the scene, his body was cut in half by train. Bulger's severed body was discovered 2 days later. Yeah. Words for that, Mike? Words?
No.
Anything?
What happened to these kids?
Good
that did this?
Lord Almighty. Mike, you got the list in front of you, right?
I do.
Okay, so I'm going to exit. I'll let you read this last example here. It's just so last for now. The Amora Bain Carson case, because I want to right now on air. I want to look up what happened to these two monsters. So John Venables and Robert Thompson. Okay, where are Thompson and Venables now? Oh, you wouldn't say. Kind of similar to Mary Bell, I see.
Really?
So Venables and Thompson were both jailed for life, but, shocking, were released on license with new identities in 2001, a mere 8 years after committing these crimes. Venables, however, was 40 years old when he was sent back to prison in 2010 and 2017 for possessing indecent images of children.
Oh, jeez.
No kidding. He was refused parole in 2020. Good. Okay, this kid, oh my God. He was a monster when he was 10. They were both monsters when they were 10. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Oh, he's a kid. He had problems. He has mental illness. Fuck that. I'm dropping the F-bombs. He was a monster. The devil incarnate right there. Both these little bastards. You okay, Mike?
Yeah, I am. I'm just, I'm enthralled with your rant.
Rant? Oh my God.
Yeah, but you got a little line of clear snot coming out
of
your nose. Oh. I do. I mean that. Yeah. And a little bit of spit coming out of the other corner of your mouth. So.
I apologize. I do apologize. It does say that Robert Thompson, though, is still living in the UK. I think so. So he's fine and dandy. Well, good for you, Robert Thompson. Yeah, and they have the little pictures of these little 10-year-olds in the the lineup here. Their mug shots. Oh, just look at those little 10-year-old faces.
Little cherubs.
Little cherubs. What monsters. Interesting here. For Robert Thompson, though, it says that following his 8-year sentence, 8 years, Robert Thompson was freed and given a new identity, which we said already. At the age of 28, that's when this was published. Age of 28, is believed that he is still living in the UK. In 2010, it was reported that he was in a long-term relationship with a man who knows his real identity. While he has not reoffended since being released, in a 2-part documentary, one of the investigators who questioned Thompson suggested that he was the ringleader of the attack, calling him street smart, and switched on. Robert replied saying, I don't know. Oh, no. The investigator continued, said, I don't know how he was doing at school, but he was switched on. And he was trying to con me, trying very hard. But whatever. Screw these guys. I don't want to read about them anymore. Oh, well, Mike, we got to take another time traveling excursion, but I think that's good. I need to take a breather here for a second because this example that we're going to share after our time traveling excursion, this one's really rough. I mean,
I didn't glance through this one when I was checking it out. So
you didn't?
So it'll be quite a read for me.
Oh my God. I thought that was like the one that you were like reacting to last night when you're going like,
geez,
nope.
I reacted long before that one.
Good Lord. Do you want me to?
Oh no, I can read it. I can read
tale?
that. No, it was the stab wounds in the empty eye sockets. I think I quit about there.
These poor people.
Oh, it's horrible.
God. And again, if you guys are interested, and I understand the interest, I really do. If you want to find those transcripts of the toolbox killers, murders, and tortures, they are online. There's a lot of stuff about these monsters out there, and some of the unbelievably terrible demonic shit that they did to these poor girls. It was just for their joy, pure pleasure, pure enjoyment, making them think
evil.
like they're going to escape. But then they're like force them to pose in pornographic positions. They would obviously take turns sexually assaulting them while the other ones watched, and they were just having a giggling, good, fun time torturing these people. Mike's wincing right now.
I am.
All right. Okay. I'm going to take a breather during this time traveling excursion. Hopefully, I won't pass out again. And
No,
then
you won't.
we're going to come back and we're going to share at least one more of these just truly traumatic and terrible true life cases. That's
Yes,
the
and
sad and frightening part, obviously.
On my time travel, I'm going to look for a brontosaurus.
For God's sakes. All right. Good luck at looking for that brontosaurus. Mike, you'll never be seen again. And we have returned from our final time traveling excursion. Final for this episode, that is. I did not pass out. And in fact, I think I went back to the Triassic era. Not the Jurassic.
Did
not
you
the
see
Cretaceous.
Sam Neill? No.
No. Triassic, I said. So come on, get it straight.
Wrong ASIC.
Yeah, or whatever you want to call it, era, period. You know how it goes. Well, Mike, we've gotten through this so far. We have a little bit more to go. This is interesting because I thought this was what you were reacting to. This case that you're going to share right now, I thought this is what you were reacting to last night, as I mentioned earlier, when you were going like,
Yes.
nope. This is your dry read-through here.
This will be a blind reaction.
Oh, my God. This is the just utterly disgraceful case of
I'm not
poor,
going to gag or anything, am I?
oh my God, poor 13-month-old Amora Bain Carson. Try and wrap your mind around that. 13 months old and what this poor child had to go through. Mike, this is your dry read through here. Are you going to make it to the end?
Well, this could be a really good bit for many episodes.
A good
Here, Mike.
bit?
Yeah, here, Mike, read this.
Oh, I see. I got you.
We could find the worst thing for each of us to read and then have you read it on air for the first time.
Well, not that we're going to do it this episode, but we need to get back to the other new bit of where you wrap up each episode with, but what they didn't tell you. And
That's
then you
right.
let everyone know the truth behind the stories that we've been rambling about.
I have the facts.
He does, but we're not going there for this one, though.
No.
Believe it or not, we do have respect for the victims. My God.
Absolutely.
All right, Mike, take it away here. This is pretty
All
rough.
right. Let me get my bifocals working here.
And your bearings.
Okay, the Amora Bain Carson case. And I already don't like it. Dry read. Amora Bain Carson, a 13-month-old baby who was tortured to death by her mother's boyfriend during an exorcism. There you go. I'll tell the story
exorcism.
by copying some things from each of their appeals. Jessica Carson was the baby's mother, and the boyfriend was Blaine Millam. Jessica Carson was sentenced to life, while Blaine Millam was sentenced to death. All right, now here it even has a warning, a graphic content.
And Mike
disclaimer.
is just so we're clear. Mike is reading this like verbatim from what the author wrote. And like
Right.
I said, I think the author even said, like, I'm copying and pasting here. So just so you know,
Yeah.
Mike isn't copying and pasting anything right now. He's just reading
No.
this from top to bottom.
Yes, and just explaining where this comes from.
Yes.
Okay. Carson concluded that the child was like Chucky or Pet Cemetery, the horror movies, when the boy dies and comes back to life, all evil and stuff, because the child was biting Blaine to where it was drawing blood on his hands. After Millam returned to the child, he took a picture of her and gave it to Carson. One of the child's eyes was stretched and like warped down. Carson heard horrible cries from the child as Millam was attempting the exorcism. Oh, I just lost it.
That's okay. You can take your time.
I mean, not me losing it physically. I mean, it
No,
glitched on my phone here.
I know.
All right, here we go.
We had just mentioned that earlier too, about how that's some of these articles, when you share the links, from phone to phone,
Right.
they just fly all over the place. You're reading it, and all of a sudden, like, an ad pops up, and then you're lost.
That's
forever.
what it did. Yeah.
Are you back on track? Okay.
I am back on track. During the hours involved, Millam had taken the child to a back bedroom in their small dwelling and wedged the door door shut.
See, Mishka doesn't like this either. I don't blame her by any means.
Okay. Boy, I don't like the way this. Okay, there we go. The evidence would allow a jury to conclude that Carson was necessarily aware of what was happening to the child, because she admitted hearing the screams that accompanied such torture, and because she saw the child's deformed head.
Right. I mean, duh. What? Of course.
Yeah.
She knows what's happening. She hears the screams, and she saw physical evidence. And did she do anything about it? Hell no.
No.
Sorry, Mike.
After some time had passed and heard the sounds caused by the blows, they found blood spatter stains consistent with blunt force trauma near the south bedroom. Among the items collected from the south bedroom were blood-stained bedding and baby clothes, blood-stained baby diapers and wipes, a tube of Astroglide lubricant, and a pair of jeans with blood stains on the lap. DNA testing later showed that Amora's blood was on these items. As a result of the exorcism conducted by Millam, Amora suffered innumerable injuries that led to her death. Forensic evidence showed the child was beaten so severely that the multitude of fractures to her skull connected with each other like a jigsaw puzzle, and her brain was torn and severely damaged. An arm and leg had spiral fractures, indicating they were twisted in two.
Good
Her
Lord.
torso was either struck by a blunt object or squeezed until the ribs and sternum broke, and her body, neck, chest, abdomen, buttocks, both elbows, both forearms, both feet, right arm, left shoulder, left upper arm, left hand, right thigh, and left knee was riddled with no less than 24 distinct bite marks.
Okay, now listen. Okay, this is an exorcism that this guy is going through, because he's saying that this kid is like Chucky. This kid is possessed. This little kid has been biting. Poor me. I am going to perform this exorcism. During this exorcism, I'm going to bite her 24 flippin' times, and I'm going to twist her little arm and little legs so much with my own hands that you fracture her bones. Think about that for a second. The force that it takes to sit there and just twist. Oh my God. Okay, I'm done. I'm not going to think about that. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Her head and face were so scraped and bruised that all the discrete injuries combined into one giant injury. Her liver was torn, and her vaginal and anal orifices were so torn that the vagina and rectum were actually connected.
Yeah, Mike is not good.
An injury the forensic examiner had never seen before. The underside of her tongue was lacerated from blunt force trauma. She was also strangled because of all the injuries she sustained. It was not possible to determine which one was the final injury, and no specific singular cause of death was determinable. Forensic testimony reflected that several of the injuries standing alone would have each been fatal. Police were called several hours later. When they arrived, the child was entirely stiff and in rigor.
Yeah.
On December 13th.
That's good. That's good. And it's
okay.
Yeah. Now they're just getting into some other follow-up stuff here, but I don't even want to listen to that one anymore. But then again, woe is us. We don't want to listen to it. And this poor 13-month-old child had to endure this. Baby. That's a baby. Ugh.
Yeah.
That seemed like you got through it pretty well there. I mean, but I could tell that it was kind of tough on you at a few points. Don't blame you.
Yeah.
One iota.
That's good. One Leota.
One Ray Liotta. No, one iota, I said. Yeah, don't bring up Ray Liotta in Mike's presence because that's his favorite gif of all time is the Ray Liotta laughing gif.
I was quite saddened at his passing.
Yeah, you were so saddened you posted a laughing gif of Ray Liotta.
It was a tribute.
I know it was a tribute. Oh my God, this poor... these are just... beyond comprehension.
I've said this before when we've done other shows like this and, about the Ted Bundys and all this, that, there are things like this going on out there that we don't know of still.
Exactly.
That haven't been found.
Yes.
Things that could be worse. I remember we talked to Chris Jericho about that, and he wanted to believe that, well, they just don't happen anymore because we've caught up with the technology to keep this thing from not happening. And I remember saying, I don't believe that really, because I think that these people are so sick that they are staying one step ahead until they can be caught up with and dealt with.
No, I remember that. I remember that exchange.
Still going on, and there's probably stuff going on that's worse than what anybody can imagine. Even after reading this horribly brutal,
examples. Yeah, it's. No, I remember when we were speaking with him too. We were talking very briefly about like the idea of modern day serial killers and how it just doesn't, and we're not saying this flippantly, but it's like,
right.
Like the golden age, I'm doing quotes here, golden age of serial killers has seemed to have long since gone. Thank goodness if that were true, but it may not be true because nowadays, like serial killers are just as flippin' lazy as everyone else. They want, just like everyone wants fast food, they want fast service, they want instant internet, they want instant access to all information everywhere. Well, they want to be able to brutally murder multiple people instantly. So what do? They climb to, or they go up to a room in a high-flying Vegas hotel and they blow away how many ever people, in one night, in a couple hours. That's just one example.
An example. What about a week or so ago in Fargo, North Dakota, my hometown? There's on 25th Avenue there where I drive all the time. There is a little fender bender. Somebody rear-ended another car. So the cops responded to that. 2 cop cars, 2 sets of cops, 4 cops. They were there dealing with this totally innocent small fender bender when in a parking lot right across from where these police were, comes out with this semi-automatic rifle and shoots 3 of them, kills 1 of them. And the 4th cop, seeing all this, engaged in this guy with his 9mm from like 75 feet away, disabled his gun And as the shooter was grabbing for his 9mm and flailing it around, the cop was able to take him out. But it was found out that he was taken out, and for some reason he stopped, probably waiting for these cops as an ambush, is what they figured. But his car was full of gasoline, explosives, ammunition like you would not believe. He was on his way down to downtown Fargo to the street fair. And this one cop left, was there, took him out, and saved how many people that would have
Thank
been,
God.
just like you were saying. He had gasoline and bombs, handmade grenade, things like that.
Didn't he have
It
like
was amazing.
propane tanks or something?
Propane tanks as well.
Thank God for that officer. I mean, but then they, the officer tragically loses his life.
Right.
And this,
And 23 years old. He was on the force for like 3 months.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
He had been on for just 3 months. My goodness gracious. See, I had actually heard that it was like his first, maybe it was someone who's exaggerating the story, but I had heard that it was like his first day on the job, or you know, I don't know if it was that awful, but
No, he was 3 months with the force. Yeah.
good Christ.
But anyway,
Well, I have a few other quick examples we can fly through, Mike. If you're okay with it.
so much death.
Oh man, no. There's just so much freaking sickness out there. Like the case of Isai Sagawa. You know Isai Sagawa. He was a Japanese man who fell for a woman named Renee Hartvelt while he was staying in France, and he invited Renee over to where he was staying. While there, though, of course, he snuck up behind her and shot her in the head. He then ate her flesh for 3 days until he was caught in a park with 2 suitcases filled with her dismembered body parts. So that's good old Isai Magawa. That's his example. Now, the great story of Lisa Montgomery. Very touching story of Lisa Montgomery. She wanted a baby really bad. Montgomery lied constantly about being pregnant and losing her babies. In 2004, she befriended actually pregnant Bobby Joe Stinnett, showed up at Bobby Joe's house, strangled Bobby Joe with a rope, then cut up Bobby Joe's belly and removed her baby.
That happened in Fargo as well.
Good Christ.
Not this story, I don't believe, but that did happen to a woman in Fargo.
Bobby Joe was only passed out. And so she woke up and tried to wrestle with Lisa to get away from her, but then Lisa eventually killed Bobby Joe. This thing blows my mind. The Greyhound bus murderer. Well, this is labeled as a Greyhound bus murder because guess what? This guy was released as well. This took place in, well, you guessed it, on a Greyhound bus back in 2008 when Vince Lee stabbed and beheaded 22-year-old Tim McLean, like I said, while on board a packed Greyhound bus. He proceeded to sever the rest of McLean's body parts and eat them in front of the shocked passengers.
Whoa.
Do you remember this?
No.
But of course, good old Vince Lee was found not criminally responsible because, oh yeah, he suffered from mental illness. And guess what? He's currently free.
But what you didn't know about this story
Oh, Christ.
is he thought that he was on that show Man versus Food.
Well, it's a common mistake. And then he just kind of lost it a little bit. I understand.
Yeah, and the smell from the back of the bus didn't help much either.
I mean, you gotta be kidding me. This guy beheads a person and eats him in front
And
of
nobody
people.
stops it.
That's another thing, too. What, they're all just standing there like they're entertained? I mean, what the hell is going on there? I'm assuming it was so packed that no one noticed and he was in the far back. I don't know. No one noticed this guy screaming as his head was being chopped off.
Yeah, and there's not blood splattering all over the place and being noticed.
It is just unreal. Have you heard of like the Ken and Barbie murderers? That's another case that is just sickening.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Paul Bernardo and Carla Holmika, they were a rich, young, good-looking couple, but they actually got off on killing people. and they raped and murdered 3 women, this couple here, including Homolka's little sister, who was quote-unquote given to Paul Bernardo by Homolka as a Christmas gift. Yeah, there was a true crime documentary special on this couple because they, just like the Toolbox Killers, not only recorded this on audio, they also filmed their drugging, raping, and eventually murdering of these poor girls. So great people, these guys. I believe that Paul Bernardo is still in prison, but Carla is released because she spoke out against him. She testified against Paul, even though she gave up her sister for him. But she's out there free. Isn't that great?
He did it. Nah.
Right. Just,
I had nothing to do with it. Nah.
What's the saying? No honor among thieves, no honor among murderers, I guess.
I guess they don't believe in snitches get stitches. I don't.
Good criminy Christmas. I don't even know if I want to share any more of these. They just make me want to vomit. The last one I will share, Mike, is the case, the sad case of Sylvia Likens. I don't know if you're familiar with this one. It's more just tragic sadness. I had it pulled up here on the computer, actually. So briefly, this terrible case, Sylvia Likens, born 1949, murdered 1965. She was an American teenager who was tortured and murdered by her caregiver, Gertrude Banazuski, along with many of Banazuski's children and several of their neighborhood friends. The abuse of Sylvia lasted for over 3 months, occurring incrementally before Likens died from her extensive injuries and malnourishment on October 26, 1965. Sylvia Likens was increasingly neglected, belittled, sexually humiliated, beaten, starved, lacerated, burned, and dehydrated by her tormentors. Again, this was ran by her caretaker, Mrs. Gertrude Banazuski.
It's something that went on for a long, long time
Months.
Until it just took over and
Months.
and killed her. Yeah.
Sylvia's autopsy showed 150 wounds across her body, including several burns, scald marks, and eroded skin. Even her younger sister Jenny, through intimidation, was forced to participate in her older sister's mistreatment. The official cause of Sylvia's death was determined to be homicide caused by a combination of subdural hematoma and shock, combined with severe malnutrition. You know, the details are absolutely just mind-numbing, but some of the sexual abuse that she went through, this poor girl, after being beaten and tortured, she was also forced to strip naked and masturbate with a Pepsi Cola bottle in front of the neighbors and the friends and the families before she was further beaten and tortured. Just wonderful people, this Gertrude Banazuski and her friends and family.
So all these people that witnessed this, and none of them are...
No. They're all just going along with the story, and this poor 16-year-old girl she's dead. So Mike, I can't take this. I can't do this anymore. Okay.
No kidding.
Oh, man alive. Well, all jokes aside, we do hope that you guys enjoyed. Oh, that's a tough term. We hope you got through this episode less scathed than we did emotionally. But
yeah, I
how do you wrap up a show like this? How do you wrap up an episode with content like this? I don't know.
No idea. I mean, see, after we started reading this crap, everything started falling apart.
It's know. It's
you're like stumbling through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like our
it's
natural
like a mental shock.
Our natural attempts at humor just do not seem appropriate at all. But hey, that's okay because we're good humans, unlike the people we spoke of today.
I felt bad about my man versus food joke.
Mike, we gotta try and have some sort of levity, no matter what. It's just it's our coping mechanism. Okay,
it is.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to remind people again, we are looking for that feedback about the whole YouTube situation.
Absolutely, and we're
So-
sincere about that. We're serious.
Very.
It's probably going to happen. I mean, I shouldn't even say that. And the chances are, we'll say it's 50-50 right now, and we need to hear from you guys. We think it'd be a good idea. I mean, we'd love to see if you're subscribed to our podcast on iTunes and all that stuff. Well, you'd have to go and subscribe to YouTube. But here's the perk about that. You go subscribe to YouTube, you listen to us on YouTube, you get not only all this stuff here, the audio episodes, but we'll be posting a bunch of cool video shit, including Mike has a great idea.
I do.
Share that.
It came across me like a bolt of thunder.
And what is it again?
Bolt of lightning with a bit of thunder. Okay, so the Debbie mirror, I have dubbed it the Debbie mirror, that we've talked about before on the show, is that we believe had Debbie's face print and fingerprints on.
Exactly.
Well, it had been a couple of months ago that I first thought about doing something with this, and I had kind of toyed with an idea. But this time, I am going to, for YouTube, do some video of some scrying, myself doing some scrying into the Debbie mirror.
I love that idea. I love that. And now you have to make the setting like appropriate too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And it's gonna have a spot here in the podcast nook here.
Very cool.
So it's gonna stay here as a.
I think that's an excellent idea, and I think that would be a perfect addition to our video content on YouTube. If that goes well, I mean, it'd be so easy just to continuously upload great,
Right.
video content. We'll have video exclusive episodes. Obviously, we're still going to be posting all of our own paranormal investigation content, video and audio. We have plans, shit coming up. Yeah, lots of cool stuff coming up, actually. I'm not going to talk about it yet, but it should be pretty darn cool. Mike, this has really been cool tonight. That's always cool meeting up with you. The content isn't cool, but recording the podcast and doing this is always a joy and a pleasure. So I thank you for joining me again, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until next time, my friend, and all of our awesome listeners out there. Hey, if you want to support us, there's no Patreon episode anymore, or Patreon content anymore for the time being, and probably forever. But I just saw this on our Twitter page. There's actually like a tip jar, essentially, that you could actually put on your Twitter accounts, or I guess it's called X now, or whatever the hell it's called, thanks to Elon Musk. But there's like a tip jar on there. And so if you go to the Paranormally Zone Twitter/X account and you want to support us, you can drop like $1 in there or something. I have that option up there. So yeah,
I like that.
That's kind of cool. So why not?
And use it as a swear jar. Every time you swear, hey, put $1 in that tip jar.
Absolutely. So that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty neat. Even if we got like 50 cents, it'd be kind of cool. So
well, yeah.
But we got lots of stuff planned. Let us know the feedback. Let us know what you guys would like to hear, if we're doing a good job and all that.
Yeah, let us know too what you think about this graphic content. If it's something that you can handle, if you can't handle it, let us know.
Let us know.
We'll do it anyway.
Mike, what do our awesome friends of the podcast need to do?
Peace out.